So I was the sick guy sitting there yesterday or last week, and now I'm the sick guy that gets to stand up here because I'm better than Rob. I did lose my voice in Atlanta, and I'll lose it worse in Miami, I promise. But
What are you doing there?
huh? Yeah, what am I gonna do down there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna cheer on a national champion. That's what we're gonna do down there. But no, today's a really good one, and I'm really glad that they asked me to help out with this today, and couples and how you communicate about your finances, and really try to get on the same page. So that's kind of what today's about a lot.
And again, it does not have to be just a spouse, right? So this is also talking about communicating with business partners, anyone that you make financial decisions with. If you are a single person and you are working on your budget, it would be a really good idea to get like an accountability partner, someone else to just look over your finances with you. It's always good to have another kind of opinion on what's going on, right? So I wouldn't ever just make an investment choice on my own. I would get the opinions of some people around me. So if you're doing budgeting decisions or financial decisions and you don't have a spouse to run that over with, then definitely look for someone who you trust who could go over your financials with you.
Yeah, I think that we could tie that into what we do on a day in, day out basis on real estate. When we go in and look at a house, you may live in a house all your life and you walk past something all the time. And we're like, hey, if you're gonna list your house, you need to remove that. Like, oh, I didn't even realize it was there. It's that same thing with budgeting, where we can maybe help one another to, hey, you know what, here's an extra $25 or $100 that you didn't realize was there, that somebody else just looking at it quickly can take a look at it and find it.
Yeah, so today we're gonna break up it into 3 sections. So the first, after we do a quick recap in case there's anyone do we have anyone who wasn't here last week? Okay, so maybe we'll skip the recap section. So recap slides, I'll flip through those real quick, but it's gonna be 3 sections today. The first is gonna be on communication around money and finances. And then we're gonna look at personal budgeting for your home financials. And then the last section, we're gonna bring Rob up and hope he doesn't cough himself to death, and try to do how the wealthy think about budgeting and a different view of how the wealthy do their budgeting and how it can lead into what you can eventually kind of gravitate towards. So that's how we're going to break up today. All right, here we go. Critter, this is you.
This is me, all right. Poor, it's a, right there, it's got your blank there. What does poor mean? Poor could be just temporary, right? You don't have to stay in that particular situation. So, it's just a situation. It's not a permanent thing. And broke is a mindset. Because I even looked up on ChatGPT on what is broke, and it really doesn't give you a defined definition of what broke is. It's not a percentage of this or a percentage of that. So it's not necessarily a number that you can go at. It's more of what's in your mind. And something I did find interesting is that 48% of Americans consider themselves broke, and 60 to 65% of Americans are paycheck to paycheck. So that's one of the reasons for something like this is just, man, how can we break that cycle a little bit? I mean, I know personally that I've been there. I've been the paycheck to paycheck person, and then I sat down, or my wife sat down with me, I should say, and said, okay, we're not gonna do this anymore. We're gonna overcome this. And we were able to overcome that. But it wasn't easy. But then you look back and it was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't easy to actually have the conversation. So I think that's one thing that you definitely have to do is get on board with your spouse or your business partner.
Yeah, so I grew up poor, right? Really poor, like poverty level poor. But that was a temporary circumstance. And so by education and growth and learning, I can move myself out of a poor situation by changing my mindset around money. Whereas there can be multimillionaires who are still broke, right? We all know people who have the big houses, the fancy cars, and they are still broke because their mindset around money is wrong, right? So it's not about how much money you have in your situation, it's about how you think about money and what you're willing to learn about money. All right, I'm gonna flip through this real quick. This was the recap from last time. Did anyone actually do their homework and like talk to their spouse or significant other about what money classroom you were in? Okay.
What are you looking at me for?
Just trying to get a response.
All right, so I gave you a handy dandy guide in the email that went out after class last time. So if you are brave enough to have that conversation with your spouse, there's actually a guide to walk you through it, and hopefully you won't be divorced afterwards. So here we go, moving on. Here was the quick recap of what those each meant on the continuum, about how your parents taught you about money, whether you realized it or not. So how then you naturally think about money. And then wanting to move away from that into more of a secure classroom, especially as we help raise our children around money, right? So quick side note, just in case, next week, both Rob and Chris are out of town. So it will just be me next week, and I am teaching on how to teach your kids about money. So lots of things.
And that could be your adult kids, not just your little kids.
It could be your adult kids too, but it's gonna go through from like preschool age up until like high school, college age, what you should be teaching your kids about money and how you can help them learn to think about money at different ages. So that's what we're gonna cover next week. So it might deviate a little bit from what it says that it's going to.
Would you suggest getting your kids out of school and bringing them?
It's more for the teaching mind, it's more for you to know how to incorporate talks about money with your kids. So I wouldn't say that they would need to be here. You're gonna be getting all of the information, and hopefully they're gonna listen to you more than they would listen to me, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
So yes, you could bring your
Yeah.
your kids,
If your kid would rather
granddaughter.
listen to somebody else talk about it, then sure.
Yeah, if you think that's valuable, that
Yeah.
they know it's not coming from you, it's coming from a
Right.
class structure.
Yeah.
That's valuable.
All right, back to you, Critter.
Oh,
You're
it's
up
back to
again.
me. All right, money and communication. Boy, do we view this thing different. What is it, the Mars? One's from Mars, one's from Venus, and this is one of those things that we just view money differently. Men and women definitely view money a little differently and what you can and can't do with it. Typically in a relationship, business, otherwise, you've got a spender and a saver. They just kind of go together. I am the saver in my house. My wife is the spender. And without a doubt, she drives me insane. Last night, a new suitcase showed up at my house. Why do I need a new suitcase? My old one is fine. I don't know, but I have a new suitcase now, so we can go to Miami. I don't have any idea, but that's the kinds of things that are definitely different. But, men, we view money as a scorecard, right? We have money. We have, X amount on our portfolio. We like to see that. We like to be able to see that, ability to be able to achieve results. Hey, we want to get, we finally got $50,000 saved. Wow, check that off. We're really, really doing well. And then, competes to get there. Gentlemen, we just like to compete, right? Women, they like the security. My wife, we'll talk about expenses and how much to keep and all that kind of stuff, but my wife likes to keep twice as much in reserve as what it says we should. The 3 to 6 months of expenses, she wants to keep 12 months of expenses. I don't know why, because I guess we won't get any money for 12 months, but that's what she does. Quality of relationships and, shares feelings and cooperates. Excuse me.
So a couple of other notes from Gary Smalley, who wrote the 5 Love Languages, right? So he talks about how you can connect with your spouse, but knowing how they're connecting is a little bit different too. So men are going to share their facts, right? So if you're wanting to connect with a man, you're gonna probably want to share facts, like try to keep emotions out of it. On the opposite side, women are going to more have an emotional feeling about money. Again, it's not necessarily a logical decision, it's how it makes them feel. So what is that stability number? What makes them feel safe and secure? It may not have the logic behind it, but that's one of the differences in how we're made, okay? And then 2 ways of connecting, right? So men can usually connect more by doing something. So you can connect by doing something together. So maybe that is working on your budget together because you're actually accomplishing something and checking it off of your scorecard, right? You got it done. Where a woman's going to connect more by talking. Now, in my marriage, we're opposite on this. I'm the man and he's the woman as far as how we relate, but that's fine. And then also just how you view success in your life, right? So again, how you were saying with kind of a scorecard, right? So the ability to achieve your result, you check it off, you got it done, so that's your scorecard. Whereas a woman's gonna think more of, hey, what are the quality of the relationships? And can money help me, you know, have coffee with my friend, have tea with a coworker, help my mom out, right? It's how can it influence or enrich my relationships?
And I think one thing you have to do is make sure that you're not, the scorecard thing is you're not keeping score against everybody else. The scorecard's for you, right? Hey, we've accomplished, we've saved X amount, boom, we get the check mark. It's not, hey, we got a new car and Buffy has an old car. Look, we're better than her. It's not that scorecard. It's the scorecard of internal with you and your spouse, business partner. Yeah, that's what you mean.
Okay, so getting on the same page. You don't want to start with the budget. You don't want to start with the nitty gritty. I say you can spend this much, this is how much we have. Don't start there. Start on the why. Start with the dreams. Start with the why it matters, right? So dream not just little dreams like, oh, great, once we hit this, this is what we can do. Start with like a ultra 4K high definition dream. Like actually think it out. Like, hey, if we can get, what is one thing we want to do with our money together? And if we get here, what can we do? Is that a vacation? If it's a vacation, then like plan that first. Like plan what you're gonna do, how, you know, what hotel you're gonna stay in. Do the fun part first. That's gonna be what fuels the harder conversation about money, right? So if you want to own a lake property or you want to be able to travel Europe together, like do the dreaming part first. Even in business relationships, that comes into play. So Rob and I had, I don't know, we've had some different stressful things in our company, and there was a couple months ago, and I was just super stressed out about the cash flow, and he could tell on my face that I was just, nothing was going right. I was really upset, really kind of overwhelmed with the thought about what we had or didn't have working. Nothing seemed to work right in the company at that point, and he just stopped in the middle of the meeting and was like, where do you want to go on vacation next time? Or, you know, and so we took a break and we started looking at travel planning because that was a pivot that made us both happy. And so you might have to mute background people. So that might be something that you need to do, right? It's important to do that part first because then the dominoes will line up underneath that.
And because that's our why. Right, create experiences for other people and our families. That's why we do the hard things every single day.
Absolutely. Okay, so next, you're gonna wanna answer 5 key questions. Okay, those those questions are, once you get your why, once you get your high definition dream, you need to be able to answer. Both people need to know the answers to these questions. First, what is your actual monthly income? What do you make? What do you bring home? What goes into your bank account each month? Both people should know the answer to that question, okay? How much do we spend, okay? What do you actually spend each month? You both need to know what you're spending, okay? Do we have any money invested or saved, right? Both partners need to know what is your savings, what is your reserves, what do you have in case of emergencies, what do you have for your retirement accounts? I'm shocked all the time at how many people don't know those things, but you both need to know those things, okay? Number 4, where are your wills and insurance policies? Okay, you both need to know who those are with, where they are, how to find them.
Does anybody know how often you should update your will?
Depends on what your age is, I think, but.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't, but
Does it mean that you could,
depends on,
I'm 55 and you're closer to 85, so, but both of us have the same chance of getting hit by a car when we leave here today.
well, let me refine that. Depends on your asset growth and what you do with that in that period of time. If you're in a major growth period, you need to change it often.
Well, but still,
Does that make
circumstances change, right? Health changes, buying and selling properties or investments or what have you. You should really sit down once a year. And then you should really sit down once a year, you and your spouse, and say, okay, where are we? What does it look like? And what happens? Okay? A quick story. My parents were as prepared for one of them passing away before the other one did. And about 18 months ago, my dad passed away, and we thought it was all lined up. I'm still today, 18 months later, working on his estate. So, and he had it pretty well together. So the will is not for the person that passes away. The will is for the people that are left to be able to deal with it. So I encourage you once a year. My wife and I have to do it as well. We have to redo it. And don't be afraid. This is something that I've really, since all the happenings and everything, really gotten behind is don't be afraid to sit down with your children and talk about the will. With just your children, not your children's spouses, but your children. And the reason I say that is because they need to understand if there's any questions. What happens to this? What happens to mom's car? What happens to dad's truck? What happens to this? What happens to that? It's very, very clear. So make sure you don't be afraid to sit down and talk to them about it. You don't have to tell them what you have, but you need to tell them how you want it to flow.
And then lastly, besides wills and insurance policies, you also need to know what is your retirement plan. Do you have one? If not, you can just put a 0 there, but you need to know wills, insurance, retirement plan, what you have coming in, what you have going out. Those are the things that both parties should know. And that does go for businesses as well, right? When Rob and I had a partnership together, we had to sit down with Lori Kemp, our attorney, and say, hey, what happens to the business if one of us should die? How does that work out? So it's not just marriages, it's business relationships too. You need a plan for what could happen if your partner dies in a business, then it's all on you. How are those assets or decisions made, things like that. So, all right. And then, so that was agree on the why, answer the 5 key questions, and then using word pictures. So just helping your spouse visualize the impact and the possibilities of what could happen. So for women, if you're trying to get them to come do a budget with you, right? Instead of, you need to sit down and do the budget with me, how about, hey, how would having 6 months of emergency reserve saved up, how would that make you feel, right? What would make you feel a certain way? Increased communication, right? So all of the things that where you're trying to align with your spouse in order to be able to talk about money. Alright,
Ooh, what do you think of when you hear the word budget?
so second
Ooh, no
section.
fun, that's what I hear. Right? What do you hear? What do you hear? What do you think of?
You're cutting back.
The word budget,
You cutting out or cutting back?
cutting out or cutting back? What do you think?
Limitations.
Limitations? Kind of a thing, what do you think?
I don't really think about budget.
Okay,
You know, I'm different in that I don't have a spouse. I've
okay,
been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've made millions, I've lost millions, I've spent millions. I've gone through my whole life of, I know I can make money, whether through the law firm or through real estate or
Yeah.
what have you. So I've never sat down ever and thought about it.
that's.
Right, wrong,
there you
or
go.
indifferent.
No, it's not right, wrong, or any different.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
But you know in your mind that if you wanted to buy a particular thing or do a particular thing, that you do or do not have that money available to you.
I do.
So you're subconsciously doing a budget without actually writing it down.
If it's something.
And as
I
long
want,
as you
know.
can survive that way, that's fine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
So far, but yeah.
95% of the people probably think they can, but only about 5% can,
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
Yeah, hey, if there's checks in the checkbook, we got money in the bank, right? And
Belinda,
that's definitely
Brian,
not-
what do you think about when you think the word budget?
I ain't going there.
Come on, a couple words.
Oh, hell, here we go.
Okay, that's what you think.
Well, yeah, you know, because it's a frustrating, it's a frustrating word. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, it's frustrating, it's, because what I can't get through my head is we have such a moving target in a budget, or that's a perception on my part, and that budget can change radically monthly because of being self-employed and being in business all my life, and it goes up and down radically like you had in the last couple of months, and,
So like a budget's a waste of time
yeah.
because your income is fluctuating.
And fluctuating in a large degree. Sometimes we got money and sometimes we're scrambling, and it drives her absolutely nuts. Fair statement? But like I said last week, I truly believe if we had a couple $1 million in the bank, it would still drive her nuts, because I don't know what her comfort level would ever be.
That would be nice.
Start there.
Rob, do we have any, chat in the chat box? I
No.
just wanna make sure I haven't missed anyone.
No, no.
Okay. Alright, so, what do you think of when you hear the word budget? We have cutting out, cutting back, limitations, no thought about it, oh hell, here we go, a frustrating word, or a waste of time because your income fluctuates too much. Alright, so, Critter, tell us what a budget actually is.
Well, I'd love to, but I think that Hazley might be a little bit right in this, but I think that if, you know, the fluctuation in what we do for a living, but the budget can help, the pits, the highs and the lows, as long as you kind of know what you're spending, you know, throughout. Your spending's not gonna fluctuate that much, you know, as you get a big commission check.
Well, what I'm hearing you just say, if we took the minimum, let's say a minimum of a month, and figure out what that looks like, and then hold on a minute, that's my doctor.
I think also something that should be stated, because we're a lot of entrepreneurs in the room, is the idea of a business budget versus a household budget, right? And sometimes we forego both. We need both, but I think we start with the household, right?
And there are two different ways to do a budget. There is a regular income budget where you kind of know what you're making each month, and then there is a different way to do a budget if you have a very varied income that is not planned on each month. So there are two different ways to do those budgets. So make sure you remind me if we don't, once you do the budgeting section, that we talk about how to do it with irregular income.
Yeah, I think with the room, irregular is gonna be definitely, more, clarity. Clarity, control, and confidence are three things for sure. You just wanna know where your money's going, make good, smart decisions on how to spend it, and, feel secure about that you're spending it in the right areas on the right things. But, a budget's not necessarily to maybe punish a spouse or a business partner. It's just to hopefully bring a little bit more confidence, a little bit more calm to a situation. Like we said last week, 70% of divorces are because of money. Can we bring a calm to that and bring that number down quite a bit just by having that conversation, having a budget, and really sitting down and agreeing on what you're gonna spend. I'm not a fan of the envelope system, but a lot of people have been very, very successful at it. I'm just not a fan of it. Personally, I've never used it, but I didn't like it, so we didn't use it. We used other things. I can remember exactly when we really got on a budget as a married couple. And we got on it, boom, man, in 6 months, it was a totally different feeling in our house. Because we had gotten on the budget, started to save money, and really, it kind of took off from there a little bit.
Right, so for me, I actually enjoy having a budget because again, it isn't telling me what I can't spend, it's telling me what I can. Right? So I don't have to worry about going to the store and buying clothes or whatever. It's just telling me how much I'm allowed to do that. So if I have a category in the budget that's for that, that's fine. That means, hey, this is your amount. You can spend it on this whatever you want. It can be a miscellaneous, it can be a fun category, it can be clothes category, it can be buying shoes category. I don't care what it is, but it can be in your budget, and then that just gives you the permission to actually go and spend that money. Okay, so it's telling you that you can spend it on the fun things. You just have to agree ahead of time how much you're going to spend on those fun things.
And I think one thing too is once you do this for a little while and you start getting to a different level of savings or level of net worth, which will be talked about, I'm sure, in the future, then you start getting, I'll call it professional help on how you take the different pockets and where you put it after your budget. You get to a certain 3 to 6 months expenses, then what do we do? And you get professional help on, because again, just like Buffy talked about a second ago, you've got the ultimate goal of where you want to be, whether that's retirement, whether it's owning 10 rental properties, whatever that may look like. The professionals will help you get to that point as well. You've got to be able to ask for that help. And hopefully, I think there's an area. Because I'll talk about a wealth manager and what their role is and how they've helped my wife and I quite a bit.
So just again, remembering budget is permission to spend, and it is saying yes, but on purpose. So you're deciding ahead what you're saying yes to. That's all a budget is. Yes, we're going to spend money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're going to spend money on these things. And yes, this is how much money we're going to spend on these things. All right, so you've dreamed your dream in high definition. You're ready to start talking about your budget. Here are the rules. If you sit down. Now, I will say it does go much better with bourbon and a cigar. Or a fire pit. Find a good place that makes you excited to meet together and have this meeting. All right, one of you is more inclined to be the nerd in the relationship, okay? They're the ones who gets the budget ready, okay? So rule number 1, the nerd prepares the budget. Do not make the person who just likes to spend and doesn't like spreadsheets, don't make them prepare the budget. Have the person who actually likes to do it prepare the budget. Okay, number 2, keep it short. There is absolutely zero reason why you should have a 3-hour-long budget meeting. Keep it short, okay? Number 3, shut up and listen. If you are the nerd, you prepared the budget, you're going to present the budget to the free spirit on the other side, and you are going to shut up and listen to what they have to say about it, okay? Now, the free spirit, the person who doesn't like numbers, the person who doesn't like the budgets, they just like to spend the money, okay? You have a job too. Your job is to make at least one change to the budget. You have to change something about the budget. If you didn't prepare it, you have to make a change to it, because you have to not just look at it and say, whatever you think, I don't care, whatever. No, you have to look at it and you have to make a change and give your input. So if your nerd has a grocery budget and you're like, there is no way that is enough grocery money for this week. He has no idea what I actually spend on groceries this month. Then that's your input and that's what you change. And you change the budget, you have to make at least one difference, give your input and change at least one thing in the budget, okay? You also need to show up and be realistic. Now, you may want a $500 shoe budget every single month, but you have to actually be realistic. It's not about wants, it's about what you actually have and allocating it, okay? And then you can also never say, whatever you want, I don't care, whatever you want, okay? You have to agree together, this is the budget, you both have input, you both agree to it, so that you're actually going to try to stick to it, okay? All right, now.
Okay, when you say keep it short, what is short?
No more than 45 minutes max.
Does that include like the first time you sit down and do this?
It might take you a little bit longer the first time, like maybe plan for, especially if you haven't done like the dreaming part, don't have a budget meeting unless you've done the dreaming part. So do the dreaming part first. Yep. Do a 30, 45 hour long meeting just about what you want to do if you reach a certain point with your budget or your next vacation or what you want to do, what freedom feels like with money. Do that conversation first before you start this, okay? But if the nerd has the budget prepared, it will probably already have the income, the categories, how much, like this is, I'm a nerd, like this is how I think, right? Everything in my head looks like a spreadsheet. So it's already going to be allocated and ready to go. So it should be a fairly short meeting for the other party to be able to look at it and say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I don't agree with that, right? Or, hey, you forgot about this. We've got this birthday party coming up, or we've got this bridal shower coming up that we forgot about. Let's make sure we have a place for that, okay?
Where would you place in your 1 through 6 your what I'm going to call unnecessary expenses that just keeps getting compounded and never gets addressed? Like, okay, we don't need this on the TV, we don't need Netflix, we don't need this, or other things that we just keep compounding and keep paying, where we both of us know that that's a negative expense, we really don't need it, we get rid of it. Where do you bring that into that play?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Brian. That's exactly what we're gonna do next.
Because I spent $75 to $100 trying to find some place to how to watch that damn game last week. And now I'm sitting here next week after we win, we're going to have to start doing away with all those things that I got online to get the game.
All right, so in your packet, the last 2 pages of your packet, okay, that is a sample fake account of maybe what a credit card statement looks like, maybe what your bank statement looks like. Okay, so we're gonna call this the highlighter exercise. I'm pretty sure you probably don't have highlighters other than Christy, she comes prepared. Okay, so we're going
before you start on this, I want to give an example of how powerful this exercise here is going to be. So I want you to pay extra attention to this, okay? I have a coaching client that I've been coaching for 4 years. She's in South Carolina. She's a single mom, 2 kids. She's a real estate agent, so she makes pretty good money. The first time she did this exercise, she saved $3,000 a month. First time. 5 Netflix accounts for her and her 2 kids. 5 Netflix accounts. That was just the tip of the iceberg. $3,000 a month at Starbucks. 2 a day. Every day. Sometimes just her, sometimes other people. $3,000 a month at Starbucks. Now she didn't cut all of that out, but it was like she had multiple Spotify accounts instead of having a family account, right? She had all these things because she would go to a hotel, forget her Netflix, and just sign up thinking I'm going to cancel it, and then doesn't. So she saved $3,000 a month the first time doing this. Now, again, maybe we don't have $3,000 to save. Maybe we have $300 to save, or $500 to save, or $100. Whatever it is, something out of this exercise is going to come. It's going to be positive. So I've never had anyone not do it and not save money.
I actually had, when I started out in my business, I actually had my coach taught me, this was before they got real technical like it is now, that every 2 years to cancel your credit card. Cancel your credit card every 2 years. And you'll look at how much money you'll save because you've signed up for so many things that you don't even know.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that would ruin my world. I did it for a couple of years. I actually did that exercise. It was amazing how much money I saved by canceling my credit cards.
Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through here and you're going to color code your bank statement or your credit card with highlighters. Okay, so you're going to start with things that are necessary. You need them to live. Okay, so your we call it 4 walls, right? Your housing, like your mortgage or your rent payment, things like that. Utilities, those go under that umbrella. Things that you need to live in your home. Okay, second, transportation. If you have a car, insurance, things like that. Okay. And then your food, you need to eat to live, right? So maybe not all food is necessary, but normal groceries, things like that. Okay, and then normal things to clothe yourself normally. Okay, so start with what is required. Okay, that should all be done in red. These are the things that every month when I go to say, hey, I need 3 months or 6 months of reserve, you're gonna total up all of the red things and you're gonna need 3 to 6 months of those numbers because that's what you need to survive. That's your survival number. Okay? And then
Don't have a highlighter, just put an R next to it. For
yeah,
red.
you can do it right now and you can just put a R, yellow, you can write a Y for yellow, green for excess, okay? Yellow would be the, would be uncomfortable if you got rid of it, but you could survive if like you had a emergency surgery and you absolutely had to look for every single thing that you could cut. It would be uncomfortable, but you could do without it. You know, this would be things like your cable TV, you know, your Hulu, Netflix subscription, one of them, not the extra 4. You know, things that, Starbucks, right? Like, it would be nice to have, or even eating out, right? Like, this is an optional, like, it would make me uncomfortable if I could never eat out. And then green is excess. You clearly could do without it. It would not even change your life that much.
Or it's things you didn't know you had.
Right, like 4 extra Netflix
Yes,
accounts.
or a gym membership that you hadn't been to in 4 years.
Yep. So these are samples that I just put together. So looking through this, you should be able to color code this fake person's statements, right? So you are going to want to sit down and print, I would recommend your past 3 months of your bank statement and your credit card statement. Okay, it's gonna help you look for patterns. It's gonna help you understand what is the actual required amount of money that I need to live each month. Maybe it's lower than what you thought. Maybe you're thinking, oh man, I have to have $5,000 a month, but maybe you can actually survive on $2,500 a month. So it might surprise you, some of the things that you find.
Might
So-
scare you.
Yeah, it might scare you. You might find some really interesting things as you do this. So I'm gonna give people a couple of minutes. I'm gonna make sure I'm,
No 7 blue.
oh, here, I will show you the next slide. This kind of will help you understand what you're doing. So rent, food, gas, utilities, expenses you absolutely have to pay. Child support, things that are coming out that you have no control over, it's coming out whether you like it or not.
If you also are signed up for the class, you received an email with these attachments, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sent that out a couple
So you'll
hours
have
ago, maybe 2 hours
Extra
ago.
copies later.
So when Roger and I got married, I immediately did this with his finances and found he was spending, I don't know, $175 every month just in late fees because he had just forgotten to pay things, you know? So that was like a really easy way. And when you're poor, I mean, we were poor. When we both got together, we made like, 40 grand together. So every $100 made a really big difference each month. So $175 was a pretty big amount to find by doing this, to get back just by making sure that stuff was paid on time or getting rid of cards so I didn't have those late fees to worry about anymore.
There is, I mean, it's a huge lesson because no matter how much money you make, your spending habits stay with you. Right? So whether you make 40,000 or 400,000 or 4 million, you're probably gonna keep the same habits and have the same issues all along. $4 million doesn't fix anything.
Right, this goes
Ultimately.
back to that poor versus broke mindset, right? This is why so many people that make a lot of money are still broke, because they still have the same mindset. They don't do things like look at their money or control their money or tell it where it's going to actually be spent.
You would have put, like, pharmacy under red.
Yes, I would put pharmacy under it.
And
If
if
it's
you're
a
doing this
medication.
as a self-employed person, you need to figure out how much money's coming in after taxes. So account for taxes in that number. When you, I mean, that's the second part, this is the highlighter part, but when you get there.
Yep. So this is, again, not the budget yet. This is just helping you see your own patterns so that when you are making a budget, it's gonna do you no good to make a budget of $10,000 a month if you have no idea what you actually spend each month, right? So you have to know what you spend in order to be able to make a budget. And you have to know how much money is coming in.
Simple math.
Where would you put pet supplies? I would say red, but.
Depends on how much you love your pet.
Well, I think it's the couple. My wife would put it in the red and I would put it in the green.
I would put it yellow
I mean, our dogs, my wife will not let me take the dogs to the vet because they have a $450 limit. That's it. I'm not gonna spend any more than $450 on the dogs. So she will not
Like
let
their
me take.
lifetime? Or
Huh?
their
No,
lifetime?
like at a visit. Like if their medical treatment costs more than $450, okay, we'll just give you another dog. She doesn't take it that way. So that's one of those when you're having your
Is
budget
that
meeting.
per month or per year?
Huh?
Per
visit.
month or per year for the dogs?
I'm per visit.
Per visit, okay.
Yeah, so
Good thing she doesn't think of you that way.
it is a good thing, but that's me. I mean,
Give me a new husband.
When
Yeah.
I did the envelope system, now it was much easier when I was a tipped employee, so I cashed them.
right.
So I put like $10 in the net, $10 in the gift fund, cause there's always like a
Mhm.
birthday present or something.
Mhm.
And so, and there'd be one point I was like, man, the dog has a lot of money in there, let me buy this grill with the dog's money. Cause he didn't go to vet,
Yeah,
Right.
but it would take out heartburn,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, so. The envelope system, I still do it for, car insurance and my camper insurance, cause I pay it every 6 months.
Yeah.
And not to have to think that it's not there, like, in
It's
the bank
there.
account,
Mhm.
but it's there. My husband don't like that I have it in the house, but it's there.
Yeah, and as you're doing your budget, and it'll get, you know, you gotta do that, if it's $6,000 a year, you know, you gotta put that money in there throughout the entire year. You know, I just got my bill for
When you break
workman's
it up
comp.
weekly, it doesn't sound so daunting as in
Exactly,
when
small
you,
bites.
as in when the 6 months
Yeah.
come, you're like, oh crap, we gotta come up with.
Right.
Yeah, my workman's comp is $2,400, I just got the bill today. So, you know, I already know I have the money to pay for it, but, you know, that's something that is it's a monthly expense, but I pay it annually.
Yep, we're gonna talk about that next. Are there any questions on the highlighter exercise as you've been looking at it or going through it? Or any ahas or anything like that? Or questions of, hey, what would you put in what category, right? Like ultimately, you're the decider of what goes in what category.
Well, the miscellaneous fees, like the bank fees, would you go, well crap, I need to find a new bank?
Possibly.
Yeah. I mean, bank
I would
fees,
probably do them green, you know?
you know, and, another thing too is, if you do have this emergency fund or whatever you wanna call it, you know, make it an interest-bearing account instead of just a checking account. May as well get, you know, 2, 3, 4% for it. I don't even know what the money
You
market
can get
rates
up
are
to
now.
you can
But
up
get
to
it something
5
where
on
it's
high
making you
yield.
a little bit of money as well. Yeah, and you talked about, you know, with us especially being, you know, we get a big commission. And then like when I started out in my business, I had 2 accounts. I had a tax account and my regular account. And I would put 40% of my tax account on every check. That way it just went away. I didn't have to think about it. It really wasn't my money. I only spent the money that was my money. So that's one way, you know, to look at it as well. Cause it's tough when you get a nice big commission check, you're like, yay. Then you forget, oh crap, quarterlies are coming up.
Alright, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the can I afford this question.
No, you can't. Because that's my answer to everything. No, we can't.
Alright, so how do most people answer this question if they can afford it? What do most people do? 95% of people, what do they do to see if they can afford something?
They just look at what's in their money, in their account. They
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So if they have $1,500 in their account,
I'm glad you're doing this.
I'm not, you're doing it.
Oh, okay.
If they have $1,500 in their account and their friend asks them to go out to a movie and a dinner, and they say, oh, can I afford to do that with my friend? Well, they look in their account, and they have $1,500 in the account, they're like, sure, I can afford to do that, no problem. What is wrong with that?
Because that money is already gone, really. If you had if you had a budget to say, I have $100 to spend a month to go out.
I'm gonna try to draw. I'm gonna move this chair out of the way though. Alright, Carter, go ahead, I'm gonna draw while you talk.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're absolutely right, cause with the $1,500, hang on, I got the wrong. Where's
You
the
need
other?
this one?
Yeah, I need that.
Yours should be over there somewhere.
Oh, it is. Sorry,
You're good.
we're reading off 2 different things. Rob really threw us a wrench by not being
Yeah, he
well
was
today.
supposed to do
How
some of
dare I
this,
say.
and then he got
It
sick.
really threw us a wrench today. So this is all, here we go. So, underneath of that, yeah, there you go. You got your gas, you know, your mortgage, you know, there's your movie, entertainment, if you will, groceries, eating out, and then they have new phone is the example that they give here. Right, so if you start putting numbers into these categories, you know, do you really have $1,500? You know, what's your cell phone a month? I don't even know what mine is. $150 a month? Isn't that about what a cell phone is a month?
Or one line, not for me.
$100? I don't know what it, I don't have any idea. That tells you how good I'm budgeting. Yeah, I mean, it comes out of my checking account, I don't have any idea.
$218.47 for 2 people plus an iPad. That's what I pay through Verizon.
And how much, 218?
$218.47.
There you go. So he knows it exactly. You know, so do you really have $1,500?
Well, you wouldn't know if you hadn't
Yeah.
allocated all of that money ahead of time to be able to decide where it's gonna go. Now, these are very basic examples, so don't get hung up on whether that is actually legitimately possible or not. But we're just gonna put some of this number, right? So I have $1,500 in my checking account, but 50 of it is gonna go to gas, and 800 of it is gonna go to the mortgage, and I'm gonna put 20 in the movie, 200 in the groceries, 30 in the eating out, and my phone bill, oh, we're gonna say that one's 400. I know. Okay, so if it were already allocated and you had already decided what categories that it goes in, then you can answer the question, right? So if your friend wants to go out to dinner and a movie, well, you know you can go out to dinner and a movie. How much can you spend?
$50.
You can spend $50. Okay, so you may not be going to Ruth Chris for dinner, but you could probably go to Subway in a movie, right? So your choices or your decisions are more easily acted upon because you've already done the allocating ahead of time, okay? Now, if you wanna know, do you have $200 to buy a pair of new shoes? Okay, that question changes, right? Oh, I have $1,500 in my checking account. Sure, I can buy $200 worth of shoes. No, you can't, because all of that money is spoken for in other areas. Now, if you had a $200 shoe category, then again, you have the permission to spend it. It's already decided that it's gonna go there, okay? So you have to tell your money where it's going before you spend it. You need to make the decision ahead of time, before the month starts, before the money comes in, so that you are not making a decision emotionally in the heat of the moment, okay? Also, budgets flex. You are not gridlocked into these numbers never moving. Say your grocery bill ended up being $220. Okay, well then you move the money from the movie over to the grocery category, okay? So it's not the end of the world. Your budget can flex a little bit. You have to, right, we're humans, things change, things happen. But there's a whole lot of difference between doing something intentionally or not trying at all. You know, not even looking at it, not even knowing what you're spending or what your income is.
The great thing is there's so many good apps out as well that can help you with, where you don't have to put it on paper if you're that type of person.
Okay, I don't know what the next slide is without
I don't
looking. Okay, so here you go.
Yep.
So even once you do this, right, let's say you have your monthly, let's say you have your red expenses, you've looked at them, you know what you need per month to live on. You're still not out of the woods left, because here's why. Can anyone tell me the date of your next big car repair, when your car is gonna break down and how much it's gonna cost?
Mine's going in the shop tomorrow, but I don't know how much it's gonna cost.
You never know for those kind of things when they're gonna happen, right? So how do those kind of things fit into a budget?
You gotta plan for it. You gotta
Is that
plan
your
for it.
emergency fund?
Yeah, you gotta spread it out over time. Brian, what do they call it in
It's
the
not an
commercial
emergency
world?
fund,
When they're saving for a new roof?
a sinking fund.
I think it reserves.
Reserves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they put it into reserves.
So I would not call a car repair an emergency fund. I would make a separate category for that. That's what we call true expenses, which is one of yours. Yes, this one. Okay, so instead of scrambling to do $600 at the time of the event when it happens, everybody knows that your car is going to need maintenance, right? You are going to have to replace the tires.
I want to be clear. So we're talking about car repairs versus oil changes and tires,
Right.
or do you combine those two things?
I would combine the majority of again, looking like over the whole past year, right? What are the things you normally spend routinely on your car?
So I give an example of a car because I see a lot of young people not budget, and then they don't have money for an oil change, they don't have money for new tires, and because they didn't do those things, their car actually breaks down and becomes more expensive, right? They didn't, I have a son who didn't change his oil and blew the engine. So how much does that cost? Well, it costs a new car, right? Because the engine was gonna be 4,000 miles and the Toyota Camry had 298,000 miles on it. If he had done the oil change, the car is still driving today, right? So the idea of not budgeting, not planning for it, caused him not to spend the money that eventually ended up being 10 times the amount or more, right? So I think cars are a perfect example of the importance of a budget and maintenance.
Here's what I did years ago in the contracting world, because it happened to me a couple different times. I started looking at my repair cost of a vehicle. If it ended up being half as much of a new car payment, then I was getting a new vehicle. Because a couple of different times I broke down in front of the same customer's office, and that's when I said, this is not happening anymore. So I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If those payments or the repairs were half of a monthly pay or a yearly payment, if it exceeds that, I'm getting a new vehicle. And I've kind of lived by that because my truck was about to blow an engine at 8,000 miles, or $8,000 for a new engine coming out of warranty. So I said, I ain't doing that anymore. Now that with the new payments the way they are, whether that was a good idea, I don't know.
Well, I would say just be very careful that you look at the entire cost of something, not just what the payment is. So when you're looking at, can I afford this? Don't just look at, can I afford the payment? Look at, hey, what is this actually doing to my entire net worth? Can I literally afford this vehicle, the whole thing? Or am I just looking at, can I afford the payment? So me personally, I have never had a new car ever. I've always bought my cars with cash. Anywhere between, I think my first car was $5,000 up to, $15,000 have been about the range of all of the vehicles. And guess what? All of those $10,000 to $15,000 vehicles, they're gonna drive for a set number of years, right? So then in my plan for true expenses, I know I'm gonna probably have to buy a replacement vehicle because I'm buying in cash, right? I'm gonna buy a replacement vehicle, between 5 and 10 years, depending on how long those cars last, right? So that would be my sinking fund. I know I just got my newer vehicle last year, so I know, hey, that one's gonna be good for a while. I probably don't have to have another new to me vehicle for about 10 more years. So I'm good, but I need to also plan on all of the things like tires and all of those kind of things still. And then if something crazy were to happen, like a car accident or something like that, that would be an emergency fund expense, okay? But not things that you're planning for, even considering replacing a vehicle. That should be planned for as a true expense. This slide we used with some college students too. So we had some different categories for them too, like, hey, flights home for your for college kids, textbooks, Christmas, things that happen every year. You shouldn't be putting those things on a credit card because you forgot to budget for them. You should just be breaking down that annual amount, your workman's comp, right? That $2,400, you're breaking that down as a monthly expense. Even though it's an annual expense, you're still budgeting for it monthly. Okay? Any questions on true expenses? Okay, so not a whole lot is actually unpredictable.
We didn't talk about, we talked a little bit about it, but the idea of Christmas, birthdays, they don't come regularly every month, right? But those are true expenses and you should plan for those accordingly, right? Prescription drugs, a lot of people get 90-day things if you have prescription drugs. So you should, that, hey, I didn't pay it these last 2 months, but it's coming up next month, right? So you gotta look at, I think the idea of looking at 3 months is important, but there is value also going back and looking at your expenses at least once a year for the whole year and seeing what you might have missed. Cause that car repair that you forgot about in April could come back around later this year at an unpredictable time, so you wanna plan for
So
this.
how I do that in my budget is I have the category there for all of those, you know, every quarter or every year expense, and then in that month, I'm either budgeting, you know, the monthly amount, or that budget for that month is 0 for that. But I know then, because the category is there, that I'm not gonna accidentally forget about it.
Yep.
Okay, so like if I have a prescription and I know it's gonna need to renew in 90 days, then my monthly budget might have 0 for my prescription that month, but it helps me to remember to not forget that, oh, that one's coming up on the next month and I need to remember to budget for it. If it's small enough, you don't have to necessarily break it down into teeny tiny portions, but you do need a system for remembering to not forget about it.
Does that add up?
Let me see what the next slide is before I go back to
It says,
irregular.
pets are under true expenses.
Yeah, because you don't know, right, you don't know when they're gonna get sick and need a cancer surgery or something like that, or if you're just gonna be paying for them to put down, cause you're not gonna be paying for the
There's
cancer
a limit.
surgery. So.
There's a
Okay, again, a final note on this part of the budget is like, do not spend $1,500 thinking, oh, I've got another paycheck coming in, oh, I've got another closing coming in, it's fine, I don't need to budget for that, cause I'm gonna get that one on the next one, right? Don't spend money that isn't actually guaranteed to come in, right? So make sure that you're not assuming that that money is coming in, okay? And then, like Rob said earlier, more money's not gonna fix bad habits. If you can't manage $1,000, you're not gonna be able to manage $10,000, right? So start small, manage finite amounts that you can do, okay? A quick thought about how to do irregular budgeting, okay? So when you do not know what your income is gonna look like because it goes up and down because you're commission-based or you're self-employed, right? So you do that kind of budget a little bit differently. You create all of your budget categories, and you start with the red ones and you put those at the top. And you list them in order from most important to least important. And what happens is, if you're doing an irregular budget and you've got, let's just pretend these are the budget items, okay? And the money that you actually have, you have a closing check in your hand and you got paid for a job. And guess what? That pays for this one, this one, this one. That's as far as the money goes, okay? So you are always going in order of what's important. You pay as far as you can, and if that's as far as you can, then the important red things are getting covered, okay? If your next check comes in, oh great, I can check 2 more things off, okay? Then I can check 2 more things off, and you may or may not get to the optional green things at the end until maybe you're 3 more paychecks later. Or you have to start over again because you're back at the beginning of the next month, okay? So you're gonna do an itemized importance list for a month of everything, and then any income that you get that month, you're just gonna go down the list in order. It takes the emotions out of it, that's your plan, right? It's gonna pay for these things. That's how you do an irregular budget. Any comments on that, Rob?
Mhm.
Where did Critter go? He just left?
Preparing you for next week.
Okay. That's fine. Alright, so these are the 4 rules of budgeting, okay? Rule number 1, the most important one, give every dollar a job. Decide what your money is going to do before you actually get the money, okay? Number 2, don't forget about those true expenses. Take those big annual things or those semi-monthly things or those one-off things and also plan for those in your budget, okay? Rule number 3, this is the flex, right? If you need something, move your budget around a little bit. It's not gonna be the end of the world if you have to flex your budget. It's gonna be okay. Life happens, move things around if you need to. Okay, and then number 4, this is the part where you can actually stop living paycheck to paycheck. You learn to age your money. Okay, what that means is each month, if you have a little bit left over, you start to save a little bit towards your next month's expenses, until ideally you have the next month's expenses already paid for this month, right? That's how you age your money. Aging your money means that how most people live paycheck to paycheck, right? Like, they've got the money coming in and they've got the stack of bills waiting for that money to go pay the bills, okay? What we're trying to do is flip that, where you have the money already just waiting for the bill to come in, okay? And you do that a little bit at a time, okay? So you want all of your money to be aged by 30 days, right? So that you don't have to actually deploy that money to pay bills. You've got it sitting 30 days earlier than what you actually needed.
In order to do that, that means when you have a budget, you don't assign every dollar a job, right? Unless that job is to become future, to pay for future things, right?
So you have all of your categories, right? And then you have money left over at the end of your categories. It's amazing how that ends up happening at one point if you cut off $5,000 of extra things that you didn't need. So, right, you have $100 left over, okay? So you can start to save that money. You know, it's still allocated, in my account, it's still allocated as just like an extra savings account number, right? And if you don't have any sort of emergency fund, that's where you start doing that. Like, scrimp and save everything you can until you have at least $1,000 in that emergency fund, and then do not touch it. And then you can start to do that a little bit more with anything extra you have until it actually becomes a full emergency. All right.
Have you, ever,
You have
someone
that pass the
said
money
that,
slide? Where's
I
that?
thought I did. I added it in here, but maybe I didn't save it.
I heard people say they zero their account out at the end of the month, like, they're like, oh, everything's paid, I'm zeroing it out and starting the month over. Like, I don't know if that means like moving it somewhere else, or they zero it out, all their extra.
So I think you're thinking of a zero-based budget. So it's not necessarily zeroing out your account, but a zero-based budget is that you're giving every single dollar an allocation. There's nothing left over down to even the penny you're deciding. So for me, a zero-based budget is I'm covering all of my budget categories, and everything left over is going into a category that is savings for the next month. So it's still allocated, but it's just, this is allocated now, left over.
Alright, so we're gonna talk now about how the wealthy think about money. And this is a budgeting conversation, just at a much higher level, right? So, let's say you desire to become an investor, or you want to move outside of your, your comfort zone with your normal income, your normal job, and you wanna start investing in other things. It could be real estate, but it could be any other thing, right? It could be IRA, stocks, whatever else, crypto.
Did you stop and start your recording again?
No, I did not.
Okay,
So,
hold on.
yeah.
Let me
All
do
right.
that and restart.
I've been bad about that the whole time, actually.
Oh,
So
great.
that was helpful. I had one job, guys, which was to stop and start the YouTube because it's really challenging to load a 90-minute video, and I failed 100%.
Okay, well, we're stopping it, and now you're restarted.
Yeah.
There you
All right.
go.
So we're going to talk about how the wealthy thinks about money. This is like beyond budgeting, right? So this is the budget is part of this conversation box right here. So if I want to have a wealthy mindset around money, like an abundance mindset, if I want to have an investor mindset, I'm going to look at it like this. So all my income, all my cash flow comes in to what we call, this is example of Brett Tanner. He was the guy that ran KW Wealth. Brian, I know you remember seeing this before. So how he thinks about it is, and how he picked this up from other people, is that all of his money comes into essentially what he calls a war chest, right? It's money that now he has to assign a job to, right? In this case, $5,000 goes into the family checking account because that's his monthly budget, all right? So he's gonna take the money he has coming in, goes into all one area, he pulls out the money he needs to pay for his monthly budget. And then
Hey
he
Rob,
needs,
can you scroll up a little bit on the slide just so you
I
can
can.
see the bottom? There you go.
there you go. Any better?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, so that's his consumption. And then they need, you know, we talked about this, it's your personal decision on how many months of savings, how many months of reserves you would wanna have. So we think 6 months is a great place to be. If you're in real estate, it probably depends on the market you're in, whether you got 3 months or 12 months or 2 years. But it really depends on you as a person. How will you sleep at night knowing you have this much money versus X amount of dollars, right? So 6 months is a good start. So in this case, $5,000 goes into family checking, and if he's not at the $30,000, then anything excess that's coming in here goes here first before it goes. I'm gonna show you another slide in a second that goes anywhere else. So we're gonna fulfill the need for savings, which is the protection for our consumption, for our family budget, right? And that's before any other monies come out of this for anything else, right? Make sense? Okay. All right, well, that got smaller.
Yep.
So once you reach the 6 month of expenses and the savings, you're gonna redirect the monthly savings amount, so you don't have to keep filling that bucket anymore. It's filled. You're gonna keep the things in your war chest, and now they're gonna start doing you're gonna give them other jobs, all right? So the examples would be real estate, which could be flips, could be long-term holds, owning other businesses. We just had Angie on our team who bought Dairy Dip in New Salisbury. And it came with some rental properties too. So that's the idea of owning other businesses. Brian and I own self-storage, right? So that's just another business to own. You can own a lot of other things, car washes, laundromats, those are the other types of boring businesses people talk about. You can own notes. What does notes mean?
CDs? No?
It is mortgages,
Okay.
right? Did you know that mortgages, so we think about, you ever had your mortgage sold to another company? Happens 90% of the time, right? Right? Did you know that you as an individual can buy those mortgages too? It doesn't have to just go to another company? Yeah, there's a whole business, there's a whole community that buys notes. Those are typically people with a wealthy mindset, and they're just basically acquiring that debt, that promissory note. Someone's gonna pay that back, all right? So that's the thing. Anything else that comes to mind that you'd wanna do with this extra money? Right? The goal here is to generate income, right? So you can see the next slide over here, it's gonna generate income, and that income goes back into the war chest.
If you flip
Right,
to the
goes
next
to
slide,
side.
the next slide is bigger again, so it's a little bit easier to see.
Got it, okay.
There you go.
Okay, okay, too fast. So there's the half the money at the end.
Okay.
All right, so a little bigger there, you can see it. So, Chris alluded to it earlier about how before his money goes into the war chest, he's gonna put it into taxes, right? And that number, 45 to 50%, the wealthy pay a greater percentage of taxes unless they know how to do things to shield that money. So you need to check with your CPA, or you may already know your tax rate, all right? If you do your own taxes on TurboTax, at the end of it, it'll tell you what percentage you paid, right? So you should allocate whatever it is that's necessary for you. Again, the disclaimer slide, did we have that at the beginning?
Nope, I forgot it. So
Okay, the disclaimer is, from the very beginning, is we're not CPAs, tax accountants, or any of that. So don't take any of this as legal advice or financial advice. Okay, this is suggestions and training based on other things we've learned from other people. Taxes, you need to make sure that you have that money in there, because the IRS doesn't like it when you don't pay your taxes. They will put you in jail, right, if it's bad enough, right? Right, Brian?
I haven't been there yet.
All right, so, all right. Let's see, where was I? War chest. So, when all of these things are funded and taken care of, the goal is here, you see this $250,000 number. Now that's just this person's ideal of an opportunity war chest, right? Because they're trying to build up to where they have this much money because they don't know which opportunity is gonna be the next opportunity. So they're gonna be very careful about the decisions they make with that money until they have an extra reserve. Because they don't wanna have an opportunity come up that they no longer have the money for because they're gonna miss that window of opportunity, right? Again, this may be hard for some of us to think about, or we're like, man, this would be a luxury to think about money this way. This is how the wealthy think about money, right? And I don't mean those people that have millions of dollars who also spend those millions of dollars. Those aren't wealthy people. Those are people that just have more income but have more expenses, right? That's not a wealthy mindset, right? A wealthy mindset is whatever it is that you make, have everything assigned, just like the budgeting aspect, right? And then have your protections, right? Your reserves, your emergency funds, right? And then what else is next, all right? We said this last week. For every $10,000 that you have sitting in a bank account doing nothing, you are losing whatever the current inflation rate is, you're losing that much money. So if inflation's at 3%, then you're losing $30 a month effectively to inflation, which means that $10,000 becomes less and less valuable, right? If you put $10,000 under your mattress and you go to pull it out in 10 years, does it still have the same purchasing power as $10,000 did 10 years ago? Absolutely not, right? So we have to, the wealthy are always constantly thinking about what to do with the extra. How am I going to invest? Nothing is idle, right? Okay, he throws in here this idea of a line of credit as well. So that's what LLC stands for. So what does that mean? What does that mean in this situation? Real estate and an additional line of credit. Brian, don't say anything because I know what you know. I know you know what it means. Maybe?
Do what?
You know what this means and why it's here, right? Line of credit. So a HELOC, you know what a HELOC is? Home equity line of credit, right? So you purchase extra real estate. You have your primary residence you can use, but you also may have additional lines of credit on notes, on real estate, even on businesses possibly, and then you can use that leverage, that debt, all right, to then reinvest in other things. Does that make
Do not
sense?
do that unless you really.
You really need to know what you're doing here, but that's equity, it's
how
your
to do
money.
that.
And so you're just allowing someone to give you real money on your equity, because otherwise you don't get the equity. You can't necessarily go buy a house with your current house, but you can buy a house with the equity that's in your house if you get a line of credit, okay? So they're really taking it to the next level when they're talking about drawing lines of credit off these other investments to then accelerate their investment portfolio, right? This doesn't happen overnight, by the way. This is like a 10-year process to get here. Gary Keller sit down, he started coaching 2005 or 2006, he started coaching Brett Tanner, right? And Keller Williams, and it was not until like 2015 where one day he kind of figured it out. He kind of was like, oh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. And then he started to draw these maps out, these models of how to actually take what he's earning instead of just spending it, but how to reinvest it and then make more money on top of money, okay? We've got a few minutes left. So the next slide.
It's really hard to read, sorry.
And it's a little tiny. We're gonna give him a copy of it.
I can.
We'll make sure we get you a copy. So this is so Gary Keller, founder of Keller Williams, is famous for his models. He likes to draw everything in models. So the way he thinks looks like this, all right? So this is the path of money, all right? So let me just kind of walk you through it and then I'll let you ask questions. So there's two types of capital. You have human capital and capital assets, all right? Human capital is you work for money. Everybody's familiar with that, right? We do a job, hopefully we get paid for that job, right? And then capital assets is your money is now earning you money, right? Whether it's in a savings account or an IRA or a dividend paying fund or whatever it might be, your money earns you money. Well, that's capital assets. And our goal, long-term, is to have way more of this and way less of this. Otherwise, you don't ever retire, right? Okay, so you have both of these things create cash flow in your world, right? You have 4 choices of what to do with your money. Spend it, we don't know how to do that. We can donate it, right? We can hold it, which means put it in a savings account, not doing much with it, put it under your mattress, keep it in your checking account, even worse, right? Or you can invest it. Is there any other choices besides that? Spend it, donate it, hold it, invest it. I don't think there is anything. All right, so those are your 4 choices, right? Okay. So whatever this happens here, you spend it, well, it's gone. You gave it to somebody else, all right? It becomes someone else's human capital. You donate it, it's going to what money should do, which is money is good for the good it can do, right? You hold it, again, it's just under the mattress, invest it. So then you have 2 basic choices, right? So if you're most people think about holding as owning, investing as owning, right? So owning, and then you have lending, right? You know what they call people who have money, they lend it out, they call them hard money lenders, right? As one example, right? Right? So basically you become a bank. You're gonna charge someone interest, right? And that's actually very profitable, but you gotta know what you're doing. It isn't just like, oh, I'm gonna loan my money out at 6%, right? Don't ever do that, okay? Because you're not actually making money, right? There's a whole long conversation.
Yeah, don't go
Can't
there.
go
Just
there?
finish explaining your side.
I wanna go there somewhere. That's another class. That's gonna be a bonus class. All right. So there's 2 basic positions when you're investing. You got passive and active, right? So active is you own a business, you own real estate. If you're lending, you become, again, owner financing. You could have a house and you just create a note that becomes like a mortgage and you're selling someone my house, they're making you payments, they give you a down payment. Eventually they'll own the house when they've made enough payments, okay? Or private lending, which is what I mentioned, hard money lending. You're loaning another person money with an agreement to then pay you back in a certain time frame with a certain interest rate, right? That's active. Those require you to pay attention to what's going on, and you have input, and some things could go bad, some things could go good. Hopefully if you make good decisions, more things will go good than go bad, right? And then the passive is, well, you lend money, you can do a CD, money markets, bonds, T-bills. That's basically giving someone else control of your money and with a promise to a certain return, right? You can own stocks, REITs are real estate investments, mutual funds, all right? And again, you're giving someone else control. They control it versus you control it, okay? And then whatever happens here, they have financial returns. You make money off of your investments, and that money goes back up into capital assets. That's the flow of money. Most people have this, go here, and it goes here. And then they have to go do this again to do this. And so their path is very short. Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wealthy, the way Gary Keller thinks about this is the path of money. Your goal is to do all of this and maybe a lot less of this, a lot less of holding, right? Questions? I see smiles. I hope that's a good thing, a good smile, right? Because I'm hopefully showing you something you've never seen before, right? And a new way to think about the potential for yourself, right? So it requires, these things require habits though, right? You don't get here without first figuring all of these things out in terms of habits. And the reason why this is the very end of a budgeting conversation is because a lot of wealthy people have figured out a long time ago, before they were wealthy, how important it was to control their spending, right? To give themselves permission to do these things, okay? So it's really hard to invest and donate, in my opinion, if you don't know what you have to do those things. Okay. I think we're almost at 3 o'clock, so we did good on time today too. Probably because I didn't talk the whole time. Alright, questions, thoughts, ahas? Please share.
I have to get a will
Okay? And you should update it how often?
yearly.
Yearly, okay? Right.
I
Ty,
need
go ahead.
reserve,
Oh,
I need all
Ty, go
kinds
ahead.
of stuff.
Yeah.
I need all kinds of
I
reserves.
need all kinds of help.
My husband's more of a, I just work more and then that, we need this X amount of money, I just work overtime and then we pay that and then that's it. And then like right now, we just paid off credit card, we're talking about repairing a roof, and he's like, no, now we just pay that credit card off, we're gonna be broke again. I'm like, we're not broke, but that's how his mind
Mindset. You
set
said it,
is.
yep. If you're using the word broke, that has to be a change in your mindset before this, all the other stuff works, right? So, cause when you go at the budget from a broke mindset, then you are not going to want to follow the budget, because you don't think it helps, right? But the budget will help in all cases, whether you have more money or less money. Right? I've sat down with all of my adult kids and done a budget with them. And sometimes the outcome was like, when they walked away, they had more confidence in what they were doing. And sometimes, like my youngest son, he realized he was gonna be in the hole every single month, and this is why he had late fees and was falling behind. So he needed to do something different to catch up, right, to fix that, right? But not knowing cannot be an excuse for failing. It shouldn't be, right? So, Ty.
No, just wanted to thank you, that, especially that last slide.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned earlier that my whole life as an entrepreneur, I just made money. I've always had the mindset, I don't worry about budgeting, I can make money doing whatever I wanna do, I can make money.
Yeah.
But had I had something like that flow chart 30, 40 years ago, I'd be in a much different position than I am now, because as I live today now, I know I just gotta go make money and no problem.
Yeah.
Had I had a little bit of planning ahead of time, with something like a flow chart, just this last frame to me is a huge difference.
Yeah.
So thank you for showing me, probably a little bit late in my life now to really take advantage of that.
No, it's never too late.
Uh,
I promise you. I got into this business when I was 45. I'm still thinking, I wish I got in this business 20 years ago, but it's never too late.
thank you.
And we're gonna get, the more of these classes we'll do, the more you'll see why it's never too late. There's so many opportunities to take a little bit of money and turn it into a lot of money. You don't need a big pile of money to make a bigger pile of money. You just need the habits to go do that,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Mhm.
And that's where we're gonna go with all this course, right? But I think, I said this last week when I was listening to Morgan Housel, who was the author of The Psychology of Money. And then also, Gary Keller, they're having a conversation about the percentage of income they live on each month, right? And it was a game. The wealthy play this game in their mind. And Gary was like, well, I only live on 1%. Well, he's a billionaire, all right? So it's a little easier for him to say that. But in context, he's always had that goal. When he wasn't a billionaire, when he wasn't a multimillionaire, he always had this mindset of, how can I get to where I can only live on 50% of my income? Because then it's like, how do I get to 45? How do I get to 40, right? And then it's, how much of my income is this and how much of my income is this? What's the percentage, right? The wealthy want all of their income coming from here and none of it coming from here, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Start all over.
I'll see you
I'll
next
start all over,
week.
Brian, just for you. Actually, we'll send you the video.
Y'all fought less this time,
You know, one of the
or it's
crazy-
prolonged.
You know, one of the crazy things was over the years, my wife always just said, you know, we gotta do something, we're running out of money, we gotta do something. I said, okay, we'll go buy a house. Okay, she says, then, where we gonna get the money? We'll get the money, don't worry about it, we'll buy a house. Fair statement? And, I mean, that's, don't worry about it, the money is always there if the deal's right.
Okay.
So we had thought about like opening a Fidelity account and like.
Whether it be notes, like you seen a while ago,
Right.
hard money lender is a note.
So,
And for me,
And
being
we're
new
Jones.
to all of this, it's all.
you probably feel like, and the office is all in place, probably really own, but what I like about Edward Jones is they don't try to sell their product, they
Well,
sell.
and it's not their fault, the school
You sit down with a financial advisor.
that we grew up
they'll
with
tell you what the costs are.
is at fault.
As
Right.
far as
Because they
what
don't
their
teach
fees
none of this, and we could,
That's where I,
because they,
that's
the
when I was in that
government wants
position,
you
the
to
first place
stay
I
as
went.
an
I
employee
need a financial
Yeah.
advisor to help me.
and a worker, and not as an
Mutual funds,
investor, not
ETFs,
as,
whatever,
an
whatever
operator.
you pick.
Right.
Have a good day, guys.
And they'll tell you
Take
like, hey, is your
Because
goal
it's
eight
just
percent,
like
you know, how much risk are you willing to
My years
take on?
working in the bar,
For me
I
and my
was
wife,
always
it was
taught,
like,
don't
we're
put
okay
your
with
money
like
in the bank.
higher risk.
because
She
working
yielded
for
to me a
cash,
little bit there,
you
cause
didn't
I knew
report
what I
it.
was doing.
Mhm.
So we were aiming for 9 to 10%
So,
return, which is way
my
better than
money
3%.
is in safety deposit
And it
boxes.
works, right?
Because I'm
It's
always